Really excited to be here. Excited. This is our first live monthly Match Chats, and it's live because we are just wrapping up our third day, really second day, but well, third day, third morning of the spring retreat, and I'm here with two of my very good friends, Caleb Nelson, founder and CEO of DiversiFi.ai, and Wally Shaw, the CEO of Red Stag Fulfillment. Very appreciative of their support, of their sponsorship throughout the retreat, and I know both of them have left with some really great connections. So excited to dive in for the next few minutes here to talk about relationships and business building. We spend so much time talking about AI and picking robots and automation and AI optimization, and not to say that all that stuff is not important. It absolutely is, but I believe, and I know that both Caleb and Wally concur, that the best way to win is really through relationships and not just feature building and automating everything. So really excited for these two to be here to help validate that for me. So I want to start this off by just doing some quick intros, as we typically do. We'll love for Wally and Caleb to both share, who they are, the companies they work for, what it is that they do, and then I would also like for you both to share why relationships are central to how you guys operate. So, Caleb, why don't you get started?
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Caleb Nelson. I'm CEO of DiversiFi. We help 3PLs make more money and improve their relationships with their brand customers. I think transportation and the shipping space in general is just at the core a relationship business. That's what it is. It is a long-term game. Anybody that starts a business within transportation knows that it is a long-term game. You do not strike it rich overnight. You don't have overnight success. The success is really determined by the relationships that you have and the ability that you have to provide value. If you cannot build strong relationships and or provide value, you just kind of die on the vine in this industry. And you see people come and go, try to establish and strike rich, get rich quick. It does not work in this space. So long-term is the play.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm Wally Shaw. For those who don't know me, I'm the CEO of Red Stag Fulfillment. Really enjoyed the last couple of days. Got to meet Caleb, made some connection with Salt Lake City, and that's how this works. And so that builds on the relationship. A little bit about Red Stag. We've been a 3PL for the last 13 years, founded by two entrepreneurs who found a need and didn't have the right relationship with their 3PL and didn't have the right product delivery, customer service, and ultimately said we can do better and brands deserve better.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation that we have, that along with our culture and making sure that it's the right place for our teammates to work. And we service various different products out of a Tennessee location and Salt Lake. So from that perspective, I think on the relationship side, your product is only a part of it, but the customer service and the relationship and building long term. We do contracts down to 30 days, but honestly, that's because we want to earn people's right to serve them.
Yeah.
We want to be able to build relationships that last for multiple years. So we're happy to sign long-term contracts too, but we believe if we produce the right level of product and we have the right level of customer service, that people are going to want to stay with us. No one wants to move their product somewhere else. And like Caleb said, I really liked this experience of the retreat because you find like-minded people like Caleb who really want to take care of their customers.
Yeah.
And ultimately want to build a long-term relationship.
Yeah, no, appreciate that, Wally and Caleb. And as I said, this is live, so just even in the last couple of minutes, we've had a few people from the retreat. Yeah, we have a live studio audience.
Yeah.
Just
can't see them.
Yeah, exactly. Dozens and dozens here. So yeah, thank you both. So I want to talk about sort of selling technology and automation. Obviously, DiversiFi doesn't have assets. It is technology that they built. Plenty of AI. Red Stag obviously has warehouses, but lots of technology and automation inside those warehouses. So maybe Wally, go back to you. you could be, and I know you just sort of touched on this, but to go down that hole a little deeper, you could be purely transactional, right? We work with, I know hundreds and hundreds of warehouses. Without naming names, there are certainly some that are a lot more transactional and sort of nickel and dimey, and as I say, sort of penny rich and dollar poor. And then there are partners like Red Stag that really understand the customer. And yesterday we heard JB Sauceda, who gave her keynote speech in the morning.
That was cool.
Very good.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. One of the messages he shared, given his experience running a 3PL, he was sort of talking about culture, and he shared his 5 points of culture building, and I think we posted that on our socials yesterday. So go check those out. But he really made the point that you cannot be transactional in this business, right? It's really important to service the brand, and brands know when you are an honest partner. So Wally, I'm sort of leading the witness here, but
Sure.
You could be purely transactional. You're not. Why aren't you?
Yeah, I think we're not, for a multitude of reasons. One is it's just not good business. I mean, that's a simple answer. And from that standpoint, actually, we were having some discussion yesterday, as you know, Matt, about your idea of client profile and being really intentional about the people that you want to serve. Serve the people that you're going to serve well, serve the people that you're going to connect with in the right way, and that you can do a good business for. We get more leads than what we actually bid on. And we want to share those with the right 3PL who can give the best service.
Cool.
And we give away more leads than we keep. And that's a true fact from that standpoint. So I think from our standpoint, we want to be the best experience that you can have if you're going to deal with Red Stag. And if Red Stag's not the right fit, then we want you to be with 3PL X. That's going to be the best experience for you and your products. And for us, that's been really important since the founders in the first day. And they found something magic in that, besides doing culture and all the great things JB talked about. So I think for us, being selective in that relationship is really important on the front end. That doesn't mean that all of them end up being perfect. That's also being just really candid. But in those cases, we want to work with a client to make sure that we can remedy that or find the right place for them. So I think we spend a lot of time in the upfront to make sure that we find and make it a good home for all of our clients.
Awesome. I love that, Wally. And Caleb, how does DiversiFi build trust when you're asking 3PLs to effectively let AI touch their, billing and pricing and, lots of proprietary and sensitive information?
Yeah.
How has DiversiFi been effective in building that trust with 3PLs?
I think at the end of the day, it's a relationship, and you've got to build that relationship. They want the technology to work, but the technology almost needs to get out of the way so that you can build a solid relationship that lasts for a while. I think a big thing that we've been obsessive about is what I call time to value, shortening that time to value. If somebody's interested and we can build a strong relationship with them, not have it be this long drawn out implementation process where they see the vision, but they don't see the value. Time to value is so critical in this space in order to be able to gain trust, build that relationship, and have something that's long lasting.
Wally, how do you maybe what's one specific thing that you do that Red Stag does that maybe some of your transactional competitors don't do?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. One of the things that we do is, again, because of the values we have within the company, and it goes back to what JB said. I won't cuss here because one of his values was that. But we sweat the small stuff is one of our values.
Cool.
Not so dissimilar, but one of ours is we sweat the small stuff. I said don't sweat them. We sweat the small stuff. And the reason being is we don't do tolerances or allowances for inventory loss. And the reason being is we want our teammates to feel like it is their inventory.
Yeah.
And if you have that mentality, then you don't put a 2% shrinkage allowance on your product. So we have a zero shrink policy, and if we lose it or we damage it, we replace it at cost. And I think that's a real differentiator, but it goes beyond the monetary piece. It's a mentality that's inside of our building that if we screw up, we pay for it. And there's been a few posts that we made about how much should we spend. And we can transparently share that with our clients, and we do, and we pay them back, but we share with our audience. So I think the one that stands out to me is the zero shrink. Being in the brand side for over 25 years, I can tell you I never had a 3PL contract that was zero shrink in my previous life.
Yeah, zero shrink. And then I think another I'll say principle, for lack of a better word, another SLA that Red Stag at least used to have. I think you still have it, is in addition to that zero shrink. If Red Stag misses SLA by even one unit, in other words, if a single order doesn't ship according to SLA, it's either the wrong item or it ships after the deadline, you ship it for free.
That's correct.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we'll actually pay a penalty on each of those orders that we miss in.
Yeah. I think when I first heard that a few years ago, I was like, this is an interesting business, right? They cannot afford to be bad operators, right? You will be out of business if you have to do that too often.
That's right. And that was the mentality that was baked in well before me. So I don't like to take credit for something that I didn't invent, but I think it has been the mentality of, we don't want to make mistakes. So you breathe that into your organization and you have high accountability. And you've walked our warehouse, Matt, and you don't see people with their heads down, their heads are up. People are prideful of what they do, but it's instilled in the culture to make sure that we just deliver every day.
Very cool.
Caleb, DiversiFi is a year and a half old.
Yeah, we've been building it for about 20 months. I think that's the other unique thing about transportation. There is no fake it till you make it in this world. So some other industries, when you go build software, you can do this early launch, kind of hide behind some bells and whistles and make something look really pretty, and then get people in contracts while you build the product rapidly behind the scenes. In transportation, that does not work. There is this unbelievable BS meter that people have. Unlike any other industry that I've seen, the value has to be strong, and they have to have a belief in the people behind it. They have to understand who those owners are. They have to understand what the values are, and they have to understand that there is a purpose to the software that you're building in a direct need that they might have, or a pain point that they have. So we built for 20 months before bringing on any paying customers. We did that side by side with what we call design partners, 3PLs that really match that pain, and us building side by side with them to say, what about this? Okay, we've updated this, now try this out in a totally free environment. And we knew at the end of this last year, we had built something special. And that's when we made our announcement at the beginning of January of who we are and what we serve. And I did not want it to be we're going to go live and bring on clients and be patient with us. We wanted it to be we're ready. And that's the right way to do it, is go slow to go fast. And in this industry, that's the right way to do that.
Yeah. How do you balance, like, given that you're, even less than 2 years old, and you've only been, live taking on new customers, as you said, just in the last few months here. How do you anticipate being able to balance sort of startup velocity and you've raised some money, so now you have a bit of a figurative gun to your head to grow the business? Well, I mean, maybe your investors have different ideas there, but kidding aside, how do you anticipate balancing that startup velocity with maintaining relationships with your customers, with your partners, with your employees?
The money that you raise, and this is not transportation related, but the money that you raise is only as good as the people behind it that have a belief in what you're doing. And there is good money and there's bad money. Good money in this situation is, we don't really care how long it takes. As long as you nail what's called product market fit, and you have clients that evangelize your business, that love it, that are sticky, that want to tell other people about it. And for us, having those good partners, I think, is really important. That gave us that ability to build for 20 months without bringing in revenue. And I know VC often gets kind of talked down upon, but an ability to go build product without bringing on clients and doing it in the right way, there is no other format that you can totally do that in. If you're bootstrapped, which I've done that, I've grown bootstrap businesses before, you're doing it at a really tough, per client basis. And there's not a right or wrong way of being able to do it. I think at the end of the day, if you've got value at the client level and that you have an ability to say, we've done the front end loaded work so that we can scale effectively, and we're ready for that scale. I think companies get out in front of their skis when they are not prepped for that.
Yeah. Wally, something that we heard JB talk about yesterday, in his culture and people building at Sauceda Industries, a 3PL that he had run for a number of years. He was talking about hiring and how, he would talk to 3PLs when he was a brand owner. Mm-hmm. And 3PLs would always complain about, we can't hire the right people, or, we work with this agency, this temp agency, that temp agency. And I think in part due to the culture that he had built there, he had very little churn, and he had people who, cared about what they did. And, he talked about how he recruited from, artists and bartenders and people who maybe other 3PLs aren't necessarily thinking about. So he's not competing with Tesla and Amazon and other environments like that. So I'm curious for, Red Stag, how do you hire for that sort of partnership model or mentality that I know is so important to Red Stag?
Yeah, no, that's great. A couple of different things. One is our general managers are actively involved in our recruiting process. So the top of the chain, if you will, in our buildings, because buildings do have their own cultures within the corporate culture. That would be disingenuous to say that that's not true. Tennessee is different from Salt Lake City, et cetera. But the GMs directly are involved, so that as teammates come in, they understand and see who is the leader of their building, what is going on, and how is that going to be affecting what they do. And I always give this discussion or have this discussion about this is a two-way street, where we don't want it to be a one-sided fit where we think you're a good fit, but you don't think we're a good fit.
Yeah.
I think we need the teammates that are going to join us to be a high fit, and we want their buy-in in that process. So it starts with the general manager of the facility, make sure it fits. And then it's just also about the kind of work conditions that you put in. I was talking to JB yesterday on some Texas connections that we have from a previous life, and a few things that we do. One, if you go in our restrooms, they're going to be the cleanest restrooms of any warehouse. And I'll put that against anything. And when you toured our facility, I took you to the restroom. That sounds super weird, but it's super true.
A little strange, but yeah, I do agree.
But the restrooms are going to be clean, and the break room is going to be nice. We want to make sure that our teammates have a nice facility to go to, and they're building community where they are and going to do it. During peak, we do Thanksgiving dinner together. I came in on Thanksgiving, as did our entire leadership team, and we had a meal together, and we did it on a full voluntary basis. Now, we know we're going to work on that day. We asked for volunteers. We had more than enough labor, and we did it 100% voluntary. And then we do food trucks for all of peak for free. So our teammates get free lunch during the entire time. We just want to make sure that if we're asking people to give their all, one, we're giving their all beside them. And number two, that we're accommodating and making sure if you're giving time away from your family in the holiday period, that you're going to have a good experience. So for us, it's about just hammering that culture all the time and making sure that we're being good to our teammates.
Have you ever fired a client, Wally? I know you've been at Red Stag for about 18 months now, maybe 15 months. So maybe you haven't had the chance to fire someone just yet, but I know this is not your first rodeo. So have you ever fired a customer or a client because the relationship wasn't working?
Yes, I have not done that. I have not done that at Red Stag. That's probably just a amount of time that will happen. Again, I said it previously. I'm not shy about that. I think that will happen, and you don't get 100% hit rate. I hope not for any of our clients listening. But yes, I have in my previous life for sure.
Yeah. Caleb, maybe just sort of walk through, with DiversiFi, what does that, onboarding process look like? Is it sort of self-serve? Is it very high touch? Maybe just share a little bit about that.
Going back to time to value, it is high touch. you have to make sure that when they sign up, that they're getting value from the platform instantly. And I think this is something that Red Stag's done such a great job at. And I think transportation, the shipping industry itself rewards specialization, starting in a niche or having what we call a wedge. And so we have our 3PL customers really start at a value-added wedge right from the beginning, and that is in the sales process. 3PLs have a really difficult time selling to new brands when brands approach them and say, here's 6 months of my shipping data, tell me what it would have cost to use you. You would think that would be a simple calculation to run. It's extremely complex. Average turnaround time for a 3PL, and we've done plenty of market research on this, is 4 to 7 business days. Between I get the pricing proposal till I can turn the pricing proposal back to the client. This is the latest of AI that can flip that PLD, clean up information, apply cost rates, apply markups, apply storage, pick pack fees, and the like within 3.5 minutes. And that doesn't happen by accident. That is an obsessive time to value. So the onboarding piece of it, to answer your question, is extremely fast. I have to have it fast in order for clients to say, that's what I want.
Wally, quick question for you. How do you maintain, partnership with the hundreds and hundreds of brands that you serve? And I think you mentioned you have 3 facilities now. Two. Oh, 2. Okay, so yeah, I thought maybe there were 2 in the Knoxville area. So you have the one in Knoxville and one in Salt Lake.
That's right.
So you have teams on effectively both sides of the country.
Yep.
You've got dozens and dozens and hundreds of brands in those facilities. How do you sort of tactically how do you manage those relationships?
Yeah. So being that we are focused, and I appreciate your kind words, Scope, that we are focused, what we do is we make sure that it is high touch as well.
Yeah.
So from a client success point of view and from a customer service point of view, we want it to be high touch. We want to make sure that they have some level of interaction with us so that they get the right data that they want, so they can figure out how to optimize their boxes, so that they can optimize their transportation or optimize their inventory and their footprint. So our chief client officer runs a rather large team intentionally, because in the world of AI, there is still a human touch element that you have to have with customers. Things like he's talking about with pricing and evaluation and the tools, I think, are the future, and it's rapidly changing very quickly. But there is an element that people want to know if they need something done, that they can pick up a phone.
Talk to somebody.
They can talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And that piece, I don't think is going away immediately. So we are hyper focused on making sure that we have a broad client success impact, and we have that both in Salt Lake and Tennessee because of the time zones. And what we do. And then we have international customers that are shipping from overseas, as you imagine. So we'll stagger hours and we'll do other things, but we make it so that we're available. There's Slack, there's Teams, there's every other WhatsApp, whatever mechanism you want to get in touch, we will adapt to those. So we're very adaptable for our customers, and we try to be time sensitive, but that human touch piece of it hasn't gone away. The technology piece, everyone needs to accelerate at the path that Caleb's talking about it.
Yeah.
Great. The next question I have, I'd love to hear, and unlike previous Mass Chats, I've usually shared the questions with the panelists, but today, we've been busy the last couple of days here at the retreat, so we haven't had too much time. So they're all getting these questions cold, but I know they can answer them well. But yeah, my next question here, I'd love for each of you to give me a specific example or a story where a relationship saved a deal, saved a client, or changed an outcome that wouldn't have happened if you were more sort of transactionally focused. So Caleb or Wally?
Yeah. We're relatively new, so we have not gone through substantial life cycles with clients or needing to fire customers at some point in time. But there have been plenty of conversations where it's more focused on, hey, what is the end goal here? And us kind of level setting and getting back to the basics. Getting back to the basics really means the value that we're providing and giving clients, there's this idea within software companies of locking people into contracts that I think is, if anything, that's probably going to change over the next 18, 24 months. It's this lock-in on a SaaS contract. Nobody wants to be locked in. Nobody wants to feel like that they are held over a barrel and on a monthly fee when they're not getting value from it. If they're getting value from it, this is a market that will reward you. And what we've done to kind of preempt some of that and put our money where our mouth is we give everybody a 30-day out. If we can't rectify a situation within 30 days, then there is no purpose of us continuing to bill you and having you be pissed off.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a matter of how you communicate. It's a matter of being available. It's a matter of knowing, at least in our world, that people want software that works, but more importantly, they have a relationship they can reside on, and they don't want to feel trapped. And I think the relationship is critical in how you communicate, but it's also in the fundamentals of how you structure that relationship. From a contract standpoint, I think AI is changing so much, nobody wants to be locked into a 2 or 3 year deal. On a software component, fulfillment might be different, but and so having an ability to get out of the contract if there's no value is huge for us.
Yeah, I think on our side, we have a few, but one I'll talk about quickly was we had a brand that had a manufacturing defect or wasn't built to the spec that they wanted. I hate to say defect, but I did. But didn't meet the spec that they were expecting. And to return that to a manufacturer who's likely in the Far East, from that standpoint, they needed remedy in the United States in our warehouse at the last touch. And so working with their engineers, creating the right SOPs and actually doing what some might classify some light manufacturing or some adaptation of the product, we're able to save them thousands of dollars from returning it, dealing with customs and the returns process of all of that. We're able to rework it to spec, make it suitable for sale. They evaluate it, send someone in, that saved them a lot of money and allowed them to continue the business and grow. And I think with the right instruction, with the right capabilities and the right partnership, you can make those things work. And I'm sure they really appreciated it. I don't know if we totally salvage the deal from that standpoint, but I know that really made us endearing to them. And I'm pretty sure they'll be a long-term client because of the effort and capability that we added to their organization.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's so many 3PLs out there. Particularly as you get larger and larger, although it doesn't apply to everyone, but I'm certainly aware of a number of 3PLs that are quite large, and it's it's just a very commoditized relationship. You're unable to get that sort of value added, sort of one-off hard stuff done because they're just not built for that, right? Yeah. If you use, I get asked by brands all the time, should we just work with Amazon for their fulfillment? Their multi-channel fulfillment business, which is effectively using Amazon's warehouses for non-Amazon orders. So you could be a Shopify merchant and use Amazon, and it's a wonderful program. It's very cost effective, but you're unable to pick up the phone and call Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, if there's a problem, right? And you probably, I know you cannot even talk to the ops manager or the GM, but at Red Stag, hopefully your clients don't have to call you too often, but they can speak to someone immediately, as you said, via Slack or Teams or text. So no, that's great. Next question I have for maybe Wally. As Red Stag is evaluating tech partners, what signals to you when they're sort of relationship driven versus more sort of transactional?
Yeah, I love what Caleb said. So from my standpoint, we have our own in-house WMS solution that's developed and worked through a proprietary with a relationship there from that standpoint. So on our technology side, which we do have, I love what Caleb was saying about longer term contracts. The ability to be able to be flexible, I think, is really important right now. AI is changing technology so fast. If you were to build in, you're kind of waiting for your next release, or hey, I need this custom, and then there's a waterfall project, maybe it's agile, whatever, but you're going to wait for some development or what have you. I think that right now on the technology side, you want adaptability, you want flexibility, and you want the next generation now. And I think so from my standpoint, what Caleb is saying that he's offering and getting to know him, I think that's the way you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be nimble, you have to be flexible, you have to be adaptable. We have a lot of that flexibility ourselves because we control our own software development. But for any adjacent capabilities, we would 100% agree with what Caleb said, to be able to get out or to change or to do what you have. I also don't want it to be embedded in my full process. So if my process is based on the software, then I have a problem. I want my process to drive the software I need.
Yeah,
and I think that is really important because SOPs will be different per client, and I don't want to be dependent on a rigid software that won't let me be adaptable for my clients' needs.
Yeah. Caleb, do you think that you could, I mean, I think I know the answer, but do you think you could win with a terrific product, a great product, but terrible relationships?
No.
Or vice versa?
Yeah, I think in this space, I grew up in transportation. My father was in transportation before me. And that, again, going back to that long-term vision, you have to have a long-term vision operating within this space. This is a massive industry from a dollar perspective, but from a personnel perspective, from individuals working in the space, it's a really tight-knit group.
Yes.
We all talk to each other. We all kind of, if we're not at the same company in 5 years, we're somewhere else within the space. And those connections mean everything. I truly have a belief that you cannot make it work unless you put relationships first with value second. Doesn't matter how that value is derived. It could be value through software, it could be value through AI, it could be value through fulfillment. It could be value from a carrier's standpoint. Alternative carriers entering the market space have to drive the same kind of value that we all have to drive. But it's relationship first value that comes really hand in hand with that second.
What do you think? What do you think something that companies get wrong with being relationship first, versus tech first businesses?
Tech first businesses within transportation, especially with AI, can be met with an eye roll. I think a lot of people within shipping were stoked of like AI, something really cool. And then it went years without having solid use cases. And then people, again, like I said, in this space, have the sniff test of BS. They know when they're getting fed something that is not right. I think what's valuable is AI in the right way with the right use cases can be valuable. And we're starting to see people start to implement that internally, or starting to see software platforms that can be able to do that. A great use case on it with transportation is being able to, in 3PL space, you've got multiple disparate systems that don't talk to each other. You've got a WMS, you've got an OMS, you might have a TMS, you have your shipping carriers, you've got your finance system like a QuickBooks or an Oracle or a NetSuite. All of those systems do not talk to each other. When you can actually get them to talk to each other, you can have some badass use cases that come up. And that might be, AI. In reality, it's value that didn't exist before that now exists. I think so many times you've been sold a white lie, you've been sold a use case that doesn't exist, and it burns people out. So we're heavy on value and we're heavy on use cases of a proof of concept. So if somebody wants to come to us and see what we're doing, we'll give them a free proof of concept and say, this is what we're doing. This is the value we can provide. Here's the ROI. You have a 30-day out in the contract, but let's get ripping. Let's go get some value.
Yeah, I love that. And I love, the flexibility in your perspective on having shorter contracts. I think you said DiversiFi has a 30-day out. If you're unhappy with it, with third person, I mean, we have a similar perspective where with our newly launched monthly paid tiers for 3PLs, we certainly have an annual plan if someone wants to have a bit of a price break. But the majority of our partners are on monthly plans, and there's no cancellation fees if you're unhappy. If we cannot provide the value on a monthly basis, then we shouldn't be taking your money, and you should have an opportunity. Red Stag's on one of our monthly plans. I mean, I would hope that they upgrade to an annual plan, but
No push, no push.
yeah, we can talk about it after.
Discounts.
Yeah, we are running a promo right now for our 3PL partners. But no, kidding aside, I totally subscribe to that. Where we need to be providing value on a monthly basis, and just how quickly the world is evolving right now. It's important to continue providing that value.
I think if I can add something, this retreat is a perfect example of the value that is being brought by a third person, which is you have subject matter expertise. People want to deal with people that understand their problems, understand their world, and can provide a value associated to that. I think where it gets lost is people that jump into the space have no real value or concept of transportation, shipping, and the knowledge base that's required in order to be able to provide solutions to that. I think third person does a great job with that, and this retreat's been like a perfect example of that. We've brought together like-minded individuals that build strong relationships that will probably last for years.
Yeah. Wally, what is one piece of advice for someone starting a company that the vein of sort of relationship building?
Yeah. So I think the number one advice is be candid, be real, be genuine. It's why I liked, and I'll make a plug for third person too. It's why I like this retreat.
Yeah.
It's not salesy. We have sponsors, but Caleb and I were sponsors for our respective companies. But it was really about building community and trying to help people, and trying to make someone else's business better. Whether you're in software or you're in other technology or you're a 3PL or a brand, I think everybody was united in trying to make the community better and to drive and say, if you're not a good fit here, you're good over there. So it's the way that I take my relationship, whether it's with our customers or with our teammates or people who work directly for me. I'm always going to be upfront. I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be candid, but I'm also going to be caring. And so for me, I think that's how you build all relationships, is in a way that's transparent and genuine.
Yeah, I love that. We have just a couple minutes. If there are any questions from the audience, whether they're on Zoom or our live audience here of hundreds of people, now's your time to post something in the chat, or I don't know, raise your hand here, and we can call on you. But maybe just one or two other questions from my end. When do relationships hurt business? When should you maybe be a little bit more ruthless? Is there a space for that?
I said earlier about investors, not all money is good money. Not all customers are good customers. And I don't mean that in the sense that customers are bad. I'm meaning that in the sense that sometimes their alignment doesn't fit your alignment of your organization, and you have to have a tough conversation. That's why the relationship exists, so that you can have what I call healthy conflict.
That's right.
Healthy conflict, if done properly, can drive it forward. If not, there are certain accounts that, and JB was a great example of this, and one of his core values was the say yes and which I love that too. That was such a great example of don't be a pushover in a relationship, but if you're the vendor, say yes, figure it out, and then if it's a no, come back to them with proper information on why it's a no. And I think that's really what matters. That was a great example from JB on that side.
I thought that was great too. I think for me, one of the things that I tell even our client success team, because customers do get upset at times, things do happen, whether they're in your control or not. Carrier doesn't deliver on time. You're explaining that, and we want the consumer in that case to be taken care of, and we want our customer to be taken care of. But what I tell our teammates too, and I will tell our customers, I don't yell at my teammates, and I don't want customers to yell at our teammates.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to yell at our customers. There is a healthy conflict. There is a professional decorum that we should all have and be in a professional world. and we can talk through a lot of things, but making emotions too heavy or non-controlled, I don't think is appropriate in the workplace. I just don't. And I have that, and my team will tell you that I say that. We're not going to get yelled at, and I don't expect you to be yelled at because I don't think people want to work in that environment.
No.
Can people get excited? Can you raise your voice? I won't tell you that I don't. I have 2 kids, but and they will tell you that I do. But I do think that there's a level of decorum and there's a level of respect that needs to be mutual, and I think that can be an unhealthy relationship. And I don't really want to work with customers that think that that's a way to get stuff done.
Yeah. All of that. Question we have here is for either of you or both. How do you build trust quickly with skeptical prospects?
Ooh, that's great. I deal with that. AI specifically has this like little side eye to it. It goes back to a proof of concept. You have to show the value that you provide, and you have to kind of lay your cards out on the table and be like, this is what I'm going to do specifically for you. I'm going to do the hard work behind the scenes before a formal engagement.
Yeah.
And if the client, if there's enough value, I have a belief that they will move forward if they feel like the value is there and they ultimately trust. It's a matter of trust, and you have to put your foot forward to say, this is the value that I can provide. Do you trust me?
I think the way that we attack it or how we address it is we try to get everybody on a tour. I can tell you my restrooms are clean. I can tell you my break room is clean. But from that standpoint, you can think I clean up because you're coming.
Yeah.
It needs to be that way every single day. So we're customer ready every day is the way I say it. So we really try to get potential clients or prospects to come and do a tour, and then they'll understand what Red Stag is about.
Yeah, that's great. I guess one more question, and then we will wrap up. But I guess final question here, unless there's any from our live audience here. Do relationship customers have better LTV or lower churn, higher margins? How can you sort of quantify, the value of that sort of relationship-driven customer?
I want customers that evangelize who I am, the company that we are, the value that we bring, so that they can bring other individuals to experience the same value. And I know that's like difficult to quantify. You want the kind of customers that just love you, and that will bring you additional lead sources, additional growth. I'm sure you can put a figure to it of higher LTV or more stickiness related to it, a better retention number. At the end of the day, people remember who you are, what you stood for, the values that you have, and the value you brought to them.
Yeah.
And they want, and I truly believe this is a community. The shipping and logistics space is a community that wants to see other people succeed. And if there's something good, other people will know about it.
Yeah, I agree with everything Caleb said. I think it will increase LTV. It will increase stickiness. There will be margin accretion for the right partnerships. I want to just say it a little differently, but I agree with Caleb. The biggest compliment we get is when someone leaves a particular brand, goes to another brand, and they immediately call us.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They're like, we're not with the right partner.
Yeah.
So those are the biggest compliments we get, even beyond referrals, is people are taking us with them. And I think that's a testament to the legacy that the team has built prior to me and the legacy I want to leave as long as I'm at Red Stag.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I have put in the chat links to both their websites. I know Caleb and Wally can both be found on LinkedIn, DiversiFi.ai, RedStagFulfillment.com. Definitely reach out to them if they can help you with anything, and I'd be happy to put you in touch as well. Other than that, thank you so much for joining us on Zoom. Thank you to our live audience here, and I hope everyone has a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.